If somebody's got a financial interest in you, or you sort of depend on each other for income, don't put them in your tight circle. My circle is literally me, my Mrs. D, and my kids. That is it. What are the three most important things in my life, and what do I structure my life around? That's fitness, family and finance, in that order.
I was having a chat with Marcus at gym today, and he says he wants to be in Elite 15 for High Rocks. Is that still a
of course
still
it
a
is.
name? Yeah,
of course it is. If you did a gram each day of the weekend, that's 96 grams a year. And people say they ain't got a problem because it's only on a weekend. 96 grams a year tells me you've got a big fucking problem. No hard time lasts forever. So I went through addiction, started sharing my story online.
Facebook's probably your biggest platform, right?
Yeah.
How many views did you say you had?
Around 18.5 million views.
What would you say has been your biggest learning curve? How are you feeling from yesterday, physically?
All right, to be fair.
Yeah.
In the beginning, when I first started, it was different. Do you know what I mean? My body wasn't used to it. Now, I think with fueling right, eating right supplementation, sleeping better, plus your body adapts over time, doesn't it? So,
of course, yeah.
Feeling a million times better now. Given I am having a rest day today, and I did eat some cake last night, I did get a bit naughty, but I felt like I deserved it.
There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all.
That's it. But no,
I feel like you earned
feel
it.
Good.
Put a shift in.
Yeah, it were different in that type of eat.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah.
It were, because normally every race I've done's been like in cold weather.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Which brings its own set of challenges. But
I think if you ask most people, they would probably say they'd prefer to do it in the colder weather though, rather than the heat, just because it adds that extra level of, I don't know, just an extra level of challenge in it.
Yeah. But I sweat really badly, mate. So after the first station and first run out, it was like somebody just turned the tap on.
I'm the same.
Do you know what I mean?
I sweat. I sweat so bad when I'm training. So for context, people, do you want to explain what that was and what you've been up to?
Yeah, fitness on farm. So obviously when my fitness journey really started, I mean, I was always involved in fitness and stuff like that when I was younger. Looking back to it, I was always doing a bit of hybrid athleticism because I were first one in my year at school that were lifting after school, going to the gym constantly. I were rapid on running track and cross country stuff. Yeah. And then obviously as I grew up, distractions happen, life happens, and you just sort of come away from it. And then getting back into sort of like bodybuilding, starting to look good and, quite muscular and all that kind of stuff. But I accepted an invitation to do a High Rocks and it exposed so many holes. Was
this a proper High Rocks or was this
It was a sim up at farm. The first High Rocks at the farm, that A-Star.
You didn't do one at the when they had it at A-Star, did you?
At the gym?
No. So your first one was the first farm event?
Yeah, okay, but it was a High Rocks sim, wasn't it?
Yeah,
because you boys filmed it.
Of course. Oh, yeah, of course we did. Yeah.
So there were that, and that exposed a lot of holes in my overall fitness. And I didn't like the fact that I had weaknesses.
Did you think you were fit and then you did that and you were like,
because
oh, shit.
I think everybody looks in the mirror, when you see a muscular build and you think,
oh, he's healthy, he's fit.
I look dog's bollocks, but nobody sees you walking upstairs out of breath, or you can't run around garden with kids, that type of thing.
Absolutely, man.
Do you know what I mean? So when I did that were like wake up call, and I think I just fell in love with it, to be honest. But with me, it's like I'll be at level 1 and I want to go at level 10 straight away. You know what I mean? I want to go for sub 60s straight away. And it's like,
I remember Ryan came into the shop and he said something along the lines of, I was having a chat with Marcus at gym today, and he says he wants to be in Elite 15 for High Rocks. Is that still a
of course
still
it
a
is.
name? Yeah,
of course it is. But, and I think why
you're very much an all or nothing person.
I have to be.
Yeah,
I have to be, because, and I think the reason for that is because I've seen how low I can go. That sort of rock bottom that people think, I'll never hit that type of rock bottom. Well, I did. So it's like, well, if I'm able to achieve the lowest of low, I can achieve the
highest of highs.
The highest of highs.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So why not? Do you know what I mean? Why not? And even if I don't achieve that per se, I'm going to be a lot further ahead than I was when I first initially put that goal in place. You know, so
there's a kind of cringy quote about something like, if you what is it, like, aim for the stars, and even if you fall halfway, then you'll reach the moon, or something like that. Some cliche shit like that.
But it's right.
It is true, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And for ages, I mean, I was saying to you off camera a bit ago that we all see these quotes on Instagram and YouTube and on podcasts similar to this and stuff, where people are talking about, it's all about mindset. It's all about mindset. It's about how you use pain as power and trauma as fuel and all that kind of stuff. And you know what? Honest to God, hand on heart now, I can say that it's truth. It is truth. But people throw shade on that type of stuff because they haven't got the bollocks to go do it themselves.
Is that where your mind goes when you're in the pain locker then? Say you're at the farm, you're halfway through the event, and then you start feeling the physical struggles. Yeah. Where does this go?
It goes to, I am willing to die on this track.
Yeah.
I were willing to die. There's been loads of occasions in my life where I've just said, right, let's go to death. You know, taking drugs, all that kind of stuff. I was ready to just fucking die. Because I'm not going to lie, I loved taking drugs. Do you know what I mean? I loved it. I was a professional at it. Like top ranking, podium spot shit. And if I were prepared to die for something as pointless as drugs, it's like, well,
if you can commit to that, then you owe it to yourself to commit to the to the positives.
But I do a lot of self-talk. So
what does that mean?
So when it gets to that, so when you start, let's say you jump on a treadmill and you've got to do 10k on treadmill, right? And you've just done your first 500 meters. You feel your heart rate spiking, sweat's coming, maybe a bit of shin splints, feel a bit of cramp coming on later on down the line maybe. It's at that point you start thinking, fucking hell, you're literally dreading like the other 9.5k. When I get to that point where everything's seizing up, everything's hurting, maybe my Achilles heel's hurting, because I've had problems with my legs for first 6 to 8 months of sort of training and competing in hybrid fitness. But I've just taught myself to get through that pain, because your mind gives up well before your body does. You know, your mind tells your body to stop as a defensive mechanism.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But that is what limits a person to achieve what's beyond that next step. So for me, when I'm in that hurt locker, when I'm in that pain cave, it's a case of a lot of self-talk.
Is it positive self-talk?
Yeah. It's like, nobody's like you. Nobody's doing what you're doing.
Yeah. Believe in you.
You are the fucking goat. Forget them.
Yeah.
It's about you. You can do this. And every time I do it, like, I post a lot of wins out there. Do you know what I mean? Things that I accomplish and achieve.
Yeah.
But the wins that everybody sees on social media, like, they are just sort of like an end goal of all the little wins, such as doing the 10Ks, getting up early.
It's the highlight reel.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's a highlight reel, but it's
milestones almost.
Yeah, it is. But you know, a lot of people chase the highlight reel. Do you know what I mean? They want their life to be a highlight reel constantly.
Yep.
Where you've got to take into you've got to appreciate the little wins that lead up to it. The daily consistency, the daily discipline. Even when you don't want to do it, get it fucking done. Do you know what I mean? Get it done, because your goals don't give a shit about your excuses. I've learnt that.
You know, the positive self-talk thing.
Yeah.
I think it's probably fair to say a lot of people struggle with like internal negative talk.
Yeah.
What does it take to reverse that into the positive talk? Because I've been in those stages when I've been like, I don't know, say, because I play football, like that's my kind of athletic endeavour that I'm pursuing. By no means a fucking great football player, but that's what I enjoy doing. That's what I try and train towards. There'll be times like in a game where I'm absolutely knackered. Say I've played like 85 minutes. I play centre back. Say the ball gets played through. I've got to sprint, chase down a striker who's like running in on goal, because obviously like that's your responsibility. The part of your brain, or the part of my brain, sometimes I'm like, I'm fucked here. Like I can't do this.
Mm.
But you're saying when you get in that position,
yeah,
it's you're the best, you've got this. Where do you think you developed that?
I think that came from an understanding that, I think when you look back, if you look back at your life completely now, from childhood, but then most importantly, the age where you sort of got independence, right, where you didn't really have to answer to parents and you could just sort of do your own thing type thing. It's normally 18 years old, but these days it's a lot sooner than that.
Yeah.
Right?
Do you think it is a lot sooner than that?
Oh, God, yeah. I mean, you got 14-year-olds telling the parents what to do these days, you know what I mean?
Right, right, okay.
But when you sort of come into your own of like, this is what I
start developing a bit of a...
Yeah, you're making your own decisions.
Bit of agency.
Yeah. Whether it's good or bad. I think when you look back from that point, that's when your story really sort of starts, right? If you look back at everything, I think you will connect the dots looking backwards at everything that happened to you from that point of gaining independence to now, like what you had a part to play in it, what your part to play in it was. Was it a decision you made? Did you fuck up? Did you make a bad decision? That's had an effect later on down the line, right? So for me, it's a case of looking back at everything I've gone through and saying, right, I now know firmly that whatever I do is going to cause a ripple effect. Right? However I think is going to cause a ripple effect, right? If I beat myself up about something that happened 2 weeks ago, it's going to affect me for the next 2 weeks. Yeah. Because it's going to counteract any productivity today, which is going to have a knock-on effect down the line. So...
Domino effect.
Yeah, domino effect, the butterfly effect. That's what it's going to be. Yeah. So for me, it's really a case of, like, if I'm going to think anyway, I might as well just think positive, because I know I've got a 100% success rate at surviving difficult times because I'm still here, right? No hard time lasts forever, right? It's learning to separate acting on emotion, right? You need to not act on emotion. The goals have to be bigger than the emotion you're feeling right now, right? Yesterday for me was horrible at a certain point. The humidity, the stations, I got cramp in my feet, you know, I got stitch, everything. But on paper, it was the best race I've ever done because it was the quickest time I've ever raced.
Do you think there's something to be said for like giving yourself that undeniable proof that you are who you say you are?
Yeah, because
to build that bulletproof kind of mindset where you've got that ability to have the internal positive voice rather than the negative voice.
Yeah, I think in order to do that and to validate, everybody wants to know, everybody's got an image of what they want to be, what they want to achieve, right? And I think every time that you do that, you make them achievements, it just sort of solidifies in your own mind that you are who you say you are.
You're giving yourself the proof
by
doing the thing.
100%.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like, even at day one starting High Rocks and stuff, I was sort of putting myself out there like I was some elite 15 already.
Yeah.
A bit of a fake it till you make it type thing.
Yeah.
But it's because I had self-belief. But some people would have been looking then going, fuck, it's 2 weeks into this.
What's Marcus on about?
But look at me now, I'm cutting my times down by 4 minutes, 8 minutes each race.
Yeah.
I'm getting better, I'm showing, you know, and I'm taking the daily steps to do that.
What are those daily steps? Like what is a daily routine for you?
Daily routine.
Listening to the Wolf Sups pod, you were pretty big into the cold therapy stuff.
Yeah.
Certainly back then. Is that something you still do now as well?
So I do that differently now.
Okay.
In the beginning, it was to give me a dopamine release in the early stages of drug and alcohol addiction recovery. Yeah. That was it. But I think now that I got to a certain point in that journey,
how far along are you now? Days? Do you count days?
Yeah. I am 588 days today. So, but now I use the cold water therapy stuff for recovery from training.
Okay, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it is a last minute resort, like if my head is going west, you know.
You know that is a bit of a
I know it's a bit
antidote.
Of a safety blanket.
Yeah.
It's like a factory reset button.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And that's what I'll refer to, but very rarely do I have to do that now. Because I've learned that whenever my back's up against the wall, whenever I feel like, because I'm human, you know, I do feel pressure, I do feel anxiety, I do feel sadness, I feel all these things. When I feel like that's coming down on top of me, I just remember, don't act on emotion, right? And remember, every single time shit's gone south, you've come out of it stronger. So now the way I look at stress and the way I look at pressure and the way I look at all them kind of things is completely different, you know. But every morning when I wake up, especially Mondays, I see Mondays as a chance to go get it.
Yeah.
Like, let's go fucking get that bread. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Paul, who was on the podcast, he says he posts every Monday, the best day of the fucking week. Like that's his thing, and he's consistent with it. I'd say like every Monday he puts a story on saying it's the time to restart. You know, start as you mean to go on, kind of thing.
1,000,000%.
Setting up that first domino, I think that is such an important thing.
It is. Just
getting that ball rolling, whether that be, I don't know, waking up and doing your cold therapy, or waking up and going for a run, or working your way through your to-do list, starting one thing at a time. That's like, I've had my own sort of issues personally, like in terms of, I don't know if I could call it addiction, but certainly like mental health kind of struggles, like a couple of years ago. And it was through doing that, like, start as you mean to go on, like action speaks louder than words kind of thing. Inaction speaks louder. Like the things you don't do are like more impactful than the things that you do sometimes.
Definitely. It's if I stop doing what I know works for me, my non-negotiables, as I call them. So every day, it don't matter what order I do them in. Do you know what I mean? Like, so every morning it'll be a case of, I used to get up dead early every morning.
How
dead
early
early.
we're talking?
So we're talking about 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning. Jump in an ice bath, eat, you know. But then as time goes on, I think, you know, since bringing athleticism side into it, sleep is valuable.
Absolutely.
So I will wake up when I wake up, right? But from the moment I wake up, the day starts. At whatever point I wake up, the routine sort of starts.
What sort of time is that usually? Are you an early bird naturally, or is that like a struggle for you to get up at like 4 or 5 a.m?
Oh no, I can get up.
You could get up,
I can get up.
Yeah.
But I think it depends what's going on, you know, because like I said, I'm human, and I think if there's a lot going on that needs doing, then my brain just sort of won't shut down.
Yeah.
So I'll sleep for the minimum, get up, crack on with work again.
Yeah, just do your
But
thing.
I will always make sure that I get my ass to the gym that day.
Yep.
I'll always train. I've had to sort of really tell myself now that having a rest days are growth days. Do you know what I mean? There's nothing wrong with having a rest day. When I know for a fact in a week I do more than what the average person does in a year.
Yeah.
So that's absolutely fine with me.
Definitely.
But you know, I used to feel guilty for rest days. But as long as I can get up, I speak to my clients, check in with all my clients, check my social media, business suite, check my content, everything, film content, post it, spend time with family, you know, just all non-negotiables that are like, right, what are the 3 most important things in my life, and what do I structure my life around? That's fitness, family and finance, in that order.
So there's some guys who we work with through the podcast studio. They're called Talk Your Walk. They're a foundation. It might be worthwhile you guys connecting, to be fair, because they're on a similar sort of topic of, these guys have both had their own kind of addiction struggles. They're ex-rugby players, and now they've got this foundation. It's Talk Your Walk, and they do a podcast, they go speak in schools and this sort of stuff.
I might have met them.
You might have done.
What?
They're Pacific Islanders. One's called Sui, and the other guy's called Quentin.
Well, I know. There were 2 other blokes I met at a talk.
I'll show you after the podcast, but they have this thing. It's an acronym similar to that.
Yeah.
Yours, like FFF. I think theirs is FAM. I think it's family, activity and mindset.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's their 3 kind of pillars. But anyway, sorry, I've interjected there. So you say like you focus on those 3. They're your 3 kind of pillars in life. They're your non-negotiables.
Everything else is a distraction.
Yeah.
You know, partying, distraction. Talking shit about somebody is a distraction. We all fall into the trap of doing that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I just base my life around 3 Fs now. That is it. You know, and under that, my recovery is the foundation of everything. As long as I'm clean, as long as I'm sober, I truly believe I can get anything I want in this world, right? But I have to centre my world around my fitness, family and finance. And the reason why fitness is at the top of that over family is because you need to be in good health to be there for your family, right? You need your family to have a reason to chase the finances, right? And that's it.
Then the finances feed back into
and then
the
it
rest.
all feeds back round, full circle.
Yeah.
That is it. Some people look at that and go, it's boring. Trust me, it's not boring. You know,
I think you're, in my opinion, I think you're a very serious person. What do you do how do you let your hair down, so to speak? What do you? Because obviously you can't do what you won't do. You can't do what the societal kind of conventional
person would do,
like the cliche, you know, I go out for a couple of beers with my mates on the weekend. Obviously that isn't feasible. So what does that look like for you? Is it family time, do you think? Yeah, family time, sitting on the sofa watching a bit of Netflix, eating some shit food, a couple of non-alcoholic beers, but only at certain occasions. Do you know what I mean? But literally to me, my training it's not just a fundamental part of my recovery and life, but that kind of is me letting my hair down. Do you know what I mean? Like you enjoy it?
Yeah, I love it. The gym I'm training at now, it's just me in that gym when I train.
Whereabouts do you train now?
It's Baker Box in Castleford.
Right, okay. Did you grow up in Castleford?
Yeah, well, I was born in Bradford. Right. Raised in Cass. Half Portuguese, so I'm a bit of a mongrel.
I was going to ask you where the Pereira came from. I didn't know if it was going to be like Brazil or Portugal, but obviously, yeah. But
yeah, so that, like, when I'm there on my own, but that's the thing, like, I'm very strict that I maintain the same level of severity when I'm training on my own as I am to when I'm in an arena competing in front of hundreds or thousands of people.
Yeah.
Right? Because you can't just step it up on game day and be like, you know,
been half-arsing it, kind of training by yourself.
That's it, because your results are a direct reflection of the work you've been putting in.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Everything, everywhere everything that you've accomplished to this day, the position you're in, it is because of the decisions you have made leading up to this point.
Well, that's the learning curve, isn't it?
It is.
Obviously, I think you're a perfect embodiment, I think, of what the learning curve stands for to me. You know, like I was saying, I think that name, the name of this podcast resonates with me because I've been on a learning curve, like I touched on earlier. I was in a not great place at some point in my life. Like I've spoke about it before. For me, it was weed. Yeah. You know, I'd every night I'd get stoned and I would eat shit and I'd be gaming for like 6 hours and chasing that easy dopamine and just in the moment, right, when you're playing Fortnite or when you're blazing up, whatever, it's enjoyable. Yeah. But it's what happens after that that is the shit part. And I started to look at myself in the mirror and think, like, you're not who you think you are anymore. Yeah. And that was something that I really had to tackle in my own life, you know. And I also kind of found fitness sort of through that as well. Like that was my kind of antidote to it, sort of similar to you.
It is for a lot of people. Like anybody, I think it's Andrew Tate that says if you've got bad mental health, go get a fucking 6-pack. You know, train, get a 6-pack. And like some people will look at that and say, how's a 6-pack going to take away depression? But it's a process.
I think it's what the 6-pack stands for.
Yeah, it's discipline.
Yeah, it's the discipline.
It's routine. It's a vision.
Yeah.
It's like, for me, like with my clients, I always say to them, it's very important that I get them to a place of forward thinking. I get them to a place of creating a vision and a goal. everything that like your 12-step programs would do, I don't do, right? I'm the complete opposite, right? I want you to get healthy. I want you to get fit. I want you to get your finances in order. I want you to make money, get that bank. I want you to have big goals.
There's a Chris Williamson quote, I know we were talking about him before. Do the things tomorrow you would want today you to do.
Yeah.
That's such a powerful thing, I think.
It is.
I don't know where, it might not be just Chris that said that. It might have got that from somewhere else, but having that thought, like you say, that forward thinking, like setting those dominoes, obviously for you can say off the top of your head 588 days sober. Each one of those 588 days is a new domino that you're stacking in this momentum on your sobriety journey. And the scary thing is, obviously, you know, it doesn't take much. Or, you know, the further you get on into this journey, do you feel like the threat of relapsing becomes bigger or smaller?
No, I don't. And people always say this to me. They say, the one thing, I mean, you've seen them pictures, haven't you, where it shows you two queues of people and it shows you two doors, right? And it's like comfort, discomfort, right? Everybody goes through comfort door, you know, or it's a picture of a crowd and, you know, there's somebody stood on a pedestal thing saying everybody sit down and one guy stood up, right? Somebody with a whip stood on stage saying everybody sit down and one guy stood up and he says no. Do you know what I mean? That's my mentality with shit like that. It's like everybody says you are powerless, you owe each day in recovery to God, you know, by the grace of God you're clean and so. Listen, by the grace of myself, by my decisions I make every day, I stay clean, I stay sober. Right? I have worked it out now. The more I put into motion, the more I show up for myself every single day, the more every time something bad happens to me or in my life, right, as long as I can control my controllables, I can't control what goes on around me. I can control how I fucking respond to it, right? So as long as I'm doing that, there is no threat. There only becomes a threat of relapsing if I decide to put myself in risky environments. If I started going out every Friday night to a nightclub with this mindset of I'm just going to drink water, right? The surrounding, the atmosphere, people's behaviours, it will rub off. And bit by bit, right? And because then next day I'll be tired because I didn't get until after clock, even though I'm clean and sober. I'm not going to get up. I'm not going to train. I'm not going to see clients. I'm not going to spend time with family. And bit by bit by bit,
chips away.
And then that one day that I go, bang, right? So for me, it is, and I could shake people sometimes, and it's like, stop having this mindset that you're just 2 seconds away. Like when they say you don't know what's going to happen in the future. No, you don't, but you need to know how you're going to react, how you're going to respond. It is down to you. I'm sick of people. But that just don't go for addiction and recovery. It goes for everything in life, right? If your business fails, so fucking what? Build it brick by brick again. Build it. Fight for it so it doesn't fail, but build it brick by brick exactly how it was, right? You've just got to have that mentality that you've got to eliminate risk every single day. Right,
control your own environment.
That is it. Everything.
If you're addicted to coke or alcohol or whatever, but you're then putting yourself in a position where you are exposed by that. If you're working on the doors like you used to do, you're just feeding into that whole ecosystem then. And you have to make a change to take yourself out of it to see it from a different light. I think it's like now it's ironic because I no longer have anything to do with cocaine, but I have everything, but cocaine has everything to do with me, if that makes sense to you. Explain what you mean.
I worked so hard to get away from drugs and alcohol, right? but now my whole life is sort of based around it.
Yeah.
Every day I'm talking about addiction.
Yeah.
Every day I'm talking about drugs. It's on my brain 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But how do I use that thought? Do I use it as a trigger to get me going and wanting to go back to it? Absolutely not.
No.
It's a profitable way of thinking now.
Keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer almost.
That's it.
Yeah.
That is it. That is it. And you know what? I tell you, my biggest
I suppose, because you're exposed again to every day with what you do and helping other people through it, you've got a constant reminder there of the shit show of it and what it causes and what it does to people's lives. So that's a constant reminder to you to say, you've got, like, why would you ever go back to that?
Because I've now seen what the other side at fence offers.
Yeah.
Right? I know when I'm clean and I'm sober, I can achieve. Yeah. Right? And like you said, anything I do, I go full pelt at it. Whether it's fitness, whether it's business, sobriety, family, absolutely everything, I go 100 miles at it. Because who doesn't want the best results out of every part of their life?
Yeah.
Right? You don't just want one part of your life to be a highlight reel. Right? You want everything up there.
Absolutely.
Right? But it starts with number one, and that's looking after yourself. Right? You've got to put yourself before your family, before your business, before everything and anything. Right? And that's where people, in my opinion, from what I've seen, they fall into a trap of, they put money before health and fitness. Right? So the amount of people I deal with that have got severe drug issues, right, addiction problems, and I say to them, look, well, we know that your environment is a massive problem because you can get quick access to it, and we know it's factual that if we take you out of that environment, you're not going to go hunting for it because you don't have access to it. Your body's not craving it. You haven't got physical addiction. It's all psychological. It's routine based. It's environmentally triggering. That's what it is. And they go, well, I can't leave my area because of work. And I go, well, let's look at it. You're staying in that environment to go to work, and all your money, right, you can barely work as it is, all your money's going back into a drug dealer's pocket, which is then killing you. Yeah. So you're
on a treadmill.
Yeah, you are.
You're not
hamster wheel.
You're on a hamster wheel. Yeah.
Just constantly feeding the addiction that you're trying to get away from. Yeah. The whole point in breaking that cycle and the way that you're going to make a change is get yourself out of the environment, adopt a new routine, right? But obviously we want to bring people back into the environment that's where it's easily accessible, and them say no.
You've just twiggered.
Twiggered.
You've just twiggered something in my brain. I think you'll definitely know what I'm on about here. The rat experiment. Jordan Peterson spoke about it before.
Yeah.
Where they put a rat, I can't remember if it was one rat or two rats, in a cage with nothing but a drip. With two drips. One had water in and one had water with, I think it was cocaine in it.
Right.
In this cage where that was literally it.
Yeah.
The rats would just go and drink the cocaine water till they died.
Yeah.
They then replicated the experiment, but they basically made like a rat theme park.
Right.
And they had the water and then the water with the cocaine. Yeah. In the rat theme park, the rats only went for the water, not the water with the cocaine. So that sort of speaks to the actual, the importance of the environment that you're in and how that can affect. I know it's rats, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, 1,000,000%. It can. It's I always use that sort of analogy that if you were to move to, let's say, Australia or Canada or America or whatever, within a couple of years you're going to start picking up a twang accent.
Yeah, right? I did when I came home. My sisters were saying, why do you talk like that now? Genuinely.
All right. But literally, like, if somebody's accent can rub off on you, somebody's personality traits can definitely rub off on you, right? Environment can rub off on you. Everything, we absorb everything as human beings, right? People that we look up to. I'm pretty strict, me. I don't like to watch other people's content, right? Especially people that do similar to me. I don't watch.
No.
Because then you get drawn into a game of competition, you get drawn into a game of taking inspiration from them.
Comparison.
And I know some people out there have been doing that with me. They've been watching my shit, following Blueprint, and it's like, whatever. It just means I'm the GOAT. but whatever.
Recovery God.
Yeah, but I don't, you know, I won't let anybody else's shit influence me, right? And that's why...
You protect your energy.
I mean, on social media, I'm out there, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm doing everything, but I'm pretty isolated. I keep isolated every day. I will go places on my own, I will train on my own, I'll isolate myself in the bedroom, you know, at home and just work so that there's no influence of my decision. If there's arguments going off around me, I'm away from it. I'm just locked in, doing my own thing, you know, and that is it. So we absorb everything. And I think once you understand that, and you understand that the shit that you can't really avoid and that you can't control, you can control how you respond to it. You know, that is a massive game changer for people. But again, you know, that goes back to using pain as power as well. You know what I mean? Everybody's got a sad story. Everybody's got something that happened in their life, and it's up to you whether you're going to let that act as an anchor to pull you to the bottom of the ocean or rocket fuel. You know?
Makes me think about what... I mean, you hear this, I think, from a young age about if you're... Oh, fuck, what's the thing? It's like if you're surrounded by... It's easier for negative people to drag you down than for positive people to pull you up, you know, like with who you surround yourself in your circle.
Yeah.
Who would you say, like, is in your... Do you keep quite a tight-knit circle now who you actually...
Well, I did.
Dedicate spending your energy to... spending energy on?
I did.
Yeah.
This is the thing. I think when I'd gone through addiction, there were certain people that I thought was good for me. People that I tried to earn, you know, a place with. All for wrong reasons. Looking back on that now, when I first got clean and sober, I was like, why the hell would I doing that? And then even in recovery, you know, you find people that you think are on your wavelength, but then there's always a catch. There's always, you know, there's always something. So I say over maybe past month and a half, 2 months, I have literally just said, right, my circle is literally me, my Mrs. D, and my kids. That is it. Right, that's my tight circle.
Yeah.
Outside of that, like, you've got people that you're affiliated with,
acquaintances,
you know, people that you write with and everything like that.
Yeah.
People, basically, if somebody's got a financial interest in you, right, or you sort of depend on each other for income, don't put them in your tight circle, because as soon as it goes tits up with money, then that circle's a straight line all of a sudden, right? So for me, it's like, I look at my Mrs. D, everything we went through together, she never turned her back on me. Do you know what I mean? I put her through hell. So for me, that's like, that you can't get any more loyal. You can't
put a price on that.
You can't.
No.
Do you know what I mean? And it don't matter how close you think you are to people, you know, if there's money there involved, you know, that's when it can start to get messy. And that, so for me, looking at my circle of people over the past couple of months, I'm more than happy to be, you know, acquaintances with people, have friends, have mates. I will spend time with people. I'll go for coffees with people. I'll go train with people. But I've learned, hold your cards close to your chest. You know, you can only count on yourself.
Yeah.
Excuse me. You can only really count on yourself.
Yeah, it is tricky, man. Like, as you know, obviously, I'm involved in a couple of businesses, like with podcast studios and Wolf Subs, and I've had situations in the past whereby I've been working with people and we've had vested interests vested interest in the same business, and then they've sort of said like, look, I'm not happy with things here. We need to change, or I'm out. And that experience of having that conversation and sort of, you're friends, right? But you're also, like you say, you've got financial sort of motive at the same time.
Yeah.
Being in that environment and having that kind of conversation where you're talking about money and it's almost like the friend thing doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
It's difficult.
Yeah.
I really didn't enjoy it, but that person for me, off the back of that, we actually sort of got closer in the end, because he stepped away and he was sound about it. He was completely honest, and he said, look, like, I don't want to cause a fuss. Like, we'll just step back, forget about it, and move on. But it can't always be like that either.
No, it can't be. I think if there's an element of trust that's been broken, because as soon as you go into business with somebody and there's a financial interest there, as soon as that trust is broken, you know, like that, you've not just broken the trust in a business sense, you've broken it on a personal sense, right? That's what you've done. So
takes years to build and seconds to break.
Exactly. The foundation of the relationship between the two of you is now damaged.
Yeah.
Permanently, right? You know what I mean? So when you go, my advice to people is, look, if you're starting a business up, think twice before you go into business with a friend. Do you know what I mean? I've seen it happen with loads of people. Do you know what I mean? You just have to be so careful, especially if it's a friend and a friendship that you value. Like you've got a lot of love for, and they've got a lot of love for you. As soon as you both sign on dotted line and money's involved, that it's just a ticking time bomb, right? That's what it's going to be, and it is very rare that you get two people that can be on the same wavelength with the same goals, everything the same. Do you know what I mean? And sort of understand each other.
Complete trust.
Yeah, complete trust.
Yeah.
But you know, it's if that trust is broken, then it's broken, and that's it. And it can be it can be hard. You know, I've gone through it.
Yeah.
I've gone through it, and it's not easy. But you have to just march on.
Like you say, focus on the things that really matter.
Yeah, that matter and that you can control.
Yeah.
You know, that is it.
How old are you?
30.
You 30?
30.
Kind of thought you were older for some reason. Not saying that you look it. Not saying that you look it. I think, obviously, because I think everything that you've been through in life gives you that sort of experience kind of aura. Do you get what I mean?
When I was younger, I'd always spend time with older blokes. Do you know what I mean? Like people a lot older than me. I like being around people that have got life experience. Yeah. I don't really hang around with people my age.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like some of my closest friends are in the 40s, 50s.
Yeah.
You know, they're not.
That's why I like having these conversations for me personally, because I again, the learning curve, like the idea behind this podcast for me is to learn.
Yeah.
I'm almost looking at it like I didn't go to uni. This is almost like my higher education, you know, like, and I actually get to pick the sort of modules, if you like, that I'm doing in life, like having these conversations with people, and actually being able to ask the questions that I want to know the answers to, rather than just being told this is how it is. Yeah. Figuring it out that way. What would you say? Would you say there's any like key kind of life lessons that you picked up along the way, be that before or after you got sober, from these older people that you've been sort of hanging around with, that have stuck with you through time, that you might maybe then one day pass on to your son or something like that? Yeah, literally everything that has happened. I look at the way I look at it now, and it all makes sense when I sort of tally it all up backwards. Every stage of my life, from the beginning really, since being 4 years old, losing my dad, everything, as weird as this might sound, has served the purpose to where I am today. I don't think that sounds weird.
It really has served the purpose, because and I could put it all into place of where it served the purpose. You know, I've seen people at a certain age that I admired, that I no longer admire or no longer aspire to be like, but in the moment I thought, this is cool. You know, I want to be like that. And now I'm looking thinking, God no, I would only round it to learn from it. Everything, like the name of this podcast, Learning Curve, my whole life's been a learning curve.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
right? Yeah. And I now feel like I've gone through the worst time of my life. Like the biggest, I'm always learning, but the biggest learning part of my life I've gone through. And if there's anything I'd say to anybody, like people like me and you, because I didn't get no qualifications really, do you know what I mean? I didn't go to uni, but I've always had a business mind, and I've always had big goals. But I understood that it's down to me to take action. Nobody's going to come give me it.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
But the biggest thing I would say to anybody that has got no degree, no game plan really set in front of them, but they have this sort of vision of what they want to be.
This burning desire to do something bigger.
Look at your entire life. Look at the problems that you've had. Look at how you solved it. Sell the solution to the problem you had. That is it. Sell the solution to the problem you had. Your story is your education. Right? And
that's really good, that.
Honest to God.
That is really good, that.
Sell the solution to the problem you had.
Sort of how we started the podcast studio. That resonates with me. I mean, when I think about Wolfie started making supplements, obviously because he had an interest in it, but he had that interest to do it because there weren't products on the market that were hitting the sort of specifications of the things that he wanted to see. So he solved that problem. For us with the podcast studio, I was Googling Wakefield podcast studios because I wanted to use a podcast studio in Wakefield, but there wasn't one. So we solved that problem. That's I've never really thought about it like that.
That's it.
That's really good advice, I think.
So everything now. So like, this is where it all gets nitty gritty, because this is where I don't really give myself kudos for what I've done. But when I look at it all back, how I will explain it to you now, it blows my mind a little bit. It's fucking genius, really. I've literally, so I had all this ambition from a young age, wanted to create something mega, wanted to be successful in business, wanted all this kind of stuff. When
you were younger, you mentioned this on the Wolf Subs pod. You said that you were quite, like, you had some accolades and stuff when you were younger. Is that right? Like you'd had, what was it, like Lord Mayor's Award or something that? Yeah. So I got a Lord Mayor's Award, a Divisional Commander's Commendation Award from West Yorkshire Police. I won quite a few awards when I was younger. But again, that resonates with today. Yorkshire Choice Awards, all this kind of stuff. It's just sort of going full circle again. But I now feel I'm at the stage of like, because one thing that beat me up massively is that in my early 20s, I felt like I wasn't where I expected to be. You know what I mean? I expected, because I was seeing people around me, like, 22 to 25-year-old that I went to school with, getting a mortgage, they've got an Audi or a BMW, they're going on holidays and all this kind of stuff, and I'm just like... They had the better highlight reel. I'm just like, what the fuck have I got? Do you know what I mean? But I knew I had it inside me. I told myself I was going to be a millionaire by the time I was 25, and I was going to have written a book, and here I am. Well, 5 episodes into my podcast, but... It's mad though how the story takes a bit of a turn. Yeah, man. Right? Yeah. Absolutely. So you got to give and take a bit. Yeah. Right? There's not to say that you won't be a millionaire. No. Right? How old are you now? 25. 25. Yeah. Right? When did you really knuckle down? What age? Last year, probably. Last year. I mean, it's funny. Like for me, I felt like I knuckled down. Right? I did well in school. At high school, I went to college. Didn't enjoy it. Had 2 years where I basically just sacked it off, managed to pass what I was doing. Then I went into working full time in a bar, and then I ended up moving out when I was 18 into a flat with my mate, and that's when I started smoking weed all the time and this and that I was telling you about. Then I got a decent job, but then that never turned into what I thought it was going to be. And I always had this, I think I had this thing that I wanted to, even though I believed that I was capable of more, I had this part of me that wanted to escape. And that's sort of why I kind of went to Australia, because it was something I always wanted to do anyway. And I was like, right, I need something to aim towards. I'm going to aim towards that. I went, realised that sort of the grass ain't always greener. And then when I came back last year, I feel like in that last year, from March 2024 to now, that is what I look at in my life as like the time when I've knuckled down properly, working on towards myself.
So how old were you then when that goal of I want to be a millionaire before 25 or by 25? How old were you when that came in?
So that happened when I was living on my own in Wakey. I was about 19, 20.
Right.
I'd just sort of addressed, like I was talking about the issues. I'd started going to the gym. I had 3 months completely off social media. Started listening to podcasts, reading sort of self-help books, working on myself, tried to start like some sort of business. I had a bit of an epiphany of sort of, one night I had a panic attack, right, in my bedroom after smoking, and I remember looking at myself in the mirror and saying, like, you've had the best possible start in life. You know, like what the family I've been born into, the environment, my friendship, everything, and it felt like I'd just neglected myself for like 2 years and just completely pissed that away. And I suppose in my, that relative to sort of the situation that where you were in your life when you hit rock bottom, obviously on the outset, my situation there is nothing, but that is still the lowest point in my life. Do you get me? And then everything up from there has been like working towards something. And I started a YouTube channel with my mate. That's when I started getting into podcasting, and I always had this thing. I've wanted to make money from it or figure out a way to make money for it, but I didn't know how to do it or where to go or what to do. And then just through surrounding myself with the right people, putting myself in those right situations, right environment, focusing on the non-negotiables, sort of like you were saying, that's how I'm sort of, I feel like I'm at a place now in my life where I'm content. I'm at least I'm content, I'm happy, and I feel like I'm working towards that bigger picture in my life. I'm not exactly where I feel like I could be if maybe I'd have done that for a bit longer, but at least I'm on the way. Do you know what I mean?
Let me tell you now, right? So when I was 25, I felt like I were 40, right? Shit health. I had this thing that when I turned 30, my time's running out. It's going to be too late to get shit done. 30 years old now. Never felt healthier. Never felt younger. Money's good. Everything is how I wanted it. But I think when you get that idea in your head, that vision, right, your time starts then, right? That is it.
Have you ever heard the quote, every man has 2 lives, the second one starts when he realises he only has one? Yeah. I like that quote. That's like stoic, stoic mentality.
It does it. But like with me, I used to work dead end jobs, everything I was doing, but I just couldn't shake this vision that I was meant for more. Do you know what I mean? I was meant for more.
Dambo said exactly that.
In
the last podcast.
I knew there was something that was out there that were waiting for me, right? And I couldn't. Like, I used to be working in factories. Like, for me, all I ever wanted, right? I don't need millions in the bank.
No.
Right. So I think everybody says they want millions. So that let's break that down. So if you're a millionaire, what do you get with that? Forget the flash shit.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. You get time freedom.
Yep.
You live on your own schedule.
Maybe location freedom.
Yeah. Location freedom.
Yeah.
Right. Work wherever you want to work in the world. Right. I've got all that right now.
Yeah.
Right. Don't worry about money. I can work from wherever I want to in the world. I can be with my family, do both school runs every morning, train when I want, eat good food. I've got it.
Yeah.
Right? Minus the millions, but I'm in a position where I've got that life.
And now you can focus on giving back.
Now I can focus on giving back, because the more time I have, that is my time, that I decide I am deciding what I do with my time, and not an employer, right? If I did what I was doing with meaning clean and stuff as a side hustle, right, I wouldn't have been able to help as many people.
No.
You know, my living situation wouldn't be as good as it is now.
Yep.
But literally, as I was saying a minute ago, I always had this niggling thing in my head that I want to be my own boss, train when I want. I just wanted my own freedom. And I was like, I've had businesses in past that failed. I think I was 20 years old when I started my security company. No, so I was 18 years old. I was selling anti-aging products, right, to older people.
Okay.
Right, and at that point, I was selling like £500 galvanic spa machines to, like, going door to door, mate. And I was selling them, right?
I just can't picture that.
Yeah, literally, not a wrinkle on my face,
mate.
Right?
You do have good skin, to be fair.
And I was
Is that what you credit it to?
I was literally selling this to people, like £1,000 packages.
Yeah.
Right, and I were making like £3,000 a month
commission
doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And it was brilliant.
Yeah.
It was multi-level marketing, you know what I mean? And that taught me a lot.
It's funny because I was not the same thing, but I started doing a thing called utility warehouse.
I've heard of that.
Yeah, I got kind of, call it, poached into that through meeting a guy at one of the bars that I was working at. He told me about it, and he's like, you've got an opportunity here to be your own boss. And like, the product is good, you can sell it, you get commission, you work on your own time, you can do it alongside what you're doing. And I was like, fuck it, yeah, I'll give it a go. Made a couple grand from it, and then I was like, what am I doing? Like, I don't want to sell fucking gas, water, gas, Wi-Fi and electricity. Like,
what did you learn from that?
I learned that I could make my own money, you know, like putting that agency into action.
That's it.
Yeah.
And for me, like I was saying, at 18 years old, selling a product that is not relatable to me. I wasn't showing up going, look at no wrinkles, right? I'll make you 18 again. But you, like, if you're going to sell anything, you need to be you need to be the picture perfect result of a product or a service. It just works better, right? Yeah, the product can sort of sell itself, but it's always better if, you know, if I was older with wrinkles and I turned up saying, look, I've done one half of my face with this machine, it looks like I've had a stroke, but I haven't, because I've just got rid of all wrinkle. You know, that's more relatable to the customer. Yeah. But at that age, I knew I can sell.
Yeah. Again, you were giving yourself that proof that
I can flog.
Back up. Yeah.
Right.
If you can flog shit, then imagine if you could flog something that you actually cared about.
Exactly. So then I got into door work, started working on doors, security and stuff. And
how did that come about?
I got my SIA license because I fancied it.
Yeah.
But I did it for wrong reasons, because obviously I got bullied at school and everything like that, and I just wanted to sort of set the tone.
So
like,
you had a
bit
of a point to prove.
Yeah, you can't fuck with me.
Yeah, put yourself in an authoritative
and that was
position
it.
Almost.
But I look for opportunity in everything. If I ever go into a job, I'm looking for promotion, right? Not just a little promotion, I'm looking for top level shit. Yeah. Right, with no qualifications, but that's how ambitious. I will let my personality and my words talk me into getting a position that I'm not qualified for. And I've done that a few times with care homes and all that kind of stuff. Just let my work rate and my work ethic do the talking. But then when I was doing the security, I was working for this company doing static security at warehouse for Pound World, and I was like, they wanted me to go get doors contracts around my area, so I was going to all doors that I knew that I used to work at for different companies, and I was getting them at crossover to this company that I was currently with, and I'm like, why am I doing it for them? Like, they're buying into me, because they trust me, not the company. So I was set up by myself, right? And within like 6 months of doing that, like, I'd done private security for the Killers, Little Mix, worked stadium security, Kendall Calling, Leeds Fest, Reading, did private security for multi-millionaires that had guests performing there, such as Ollie Murs, Vernon Kay, all in 6 months. And I was like, what, 21-year-old, 22-year-old? Mad. Right? In talks with Amazon to do security at their locations in Doncaster. Like, I were going big, mate. Like, I were, and when that failed, because somebody was selling on the door one of the door contracts, it blew everything for me.
Yeah.
Right? And I just took the L and I went back into employment and I felt like I failed again. Right? But I knew if I were going to do a business, it would have to be a business that something I were passionate about. I'm not a jack of all trades. I'm not a handyman. Yeah, I'll graft if I need to. I've worked on shovels before. But I need something. Everybody wants that life where they can just work from the phone or the laptop, right? And I thought, social media. I need to be earning from social media, right? I need to be generating things from there. And I literally took everything that I'd done before, every business, every failed business attempt, and then obviously I went through addiction, started sharing my story online. Relatable topic, something I was passionate
Authentic.
about, business history, past, put that shit together. We're here today. So it grew arms and legs.
Learning
so
curve.
Everything that happened was my university.
The university of life.
As soon as I started mean and clean, I fucking graduated.
Have you ever considered, for you, like, obviously mean and clean it's the business, it's the program. What about transitioning that to a personal brand? I mean, you've obviously got your personal brand, I suppose, anyway, like who you are, and obviously I think your social profile, personal, is pretty significantly bigger than the mean and clean one, isn't it? Not on Facebook, but I mean on sort of like, I suppose what I'm saying is, like, obviously mean and clean is is that what's to say that you can't do that under Marcus Pereira?
I think because mean and clean's going to be something. Mean and clean is it's bigger than just me.
Okay, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not just me. Like I'm never going to say I am me. I am mean and clean. I'm not. Mean and clean's a movement. Mean and clean's
it's a community.
Yeah, it's like Andy's Man Club, right?
Yeah.
It's not just Luke Ambler.
No.
Do you know what I mean? Luke's his own guy.
Yeah.
Right? Mean and clean is mean and clean. Yeah, it's predominantly it's me.
You're the face of the brand. You're the forefront of the brand.
That's it. But my name and my face is not even on the main logo. It's a wolf.
Yeah.
It's a wolf.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's all animated.
Yeah.
But
have you done that? Redone that recently?
Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed it looks sick. So much. It's so much better than the other one. Yeah.
It don't look like a little.
I don't even know if you look like a wolf before.
Yeah. It looked like a fox, mate, that just got into Philip Schofield's hair dye. Yeah, it was.
Did
bad.
you, out of curiosity, did you AI that?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, it's sick. Yeah.
I thought you have some right arguments with that stuff. No, I want the wolf more realistic. Right? Okay.
Have you seen the mushroom tinctures we've done for wolf subs recently?
Yeah, in the brown bottle thing.
Yeah. That was fully. I might be fucking dropping us in it there. That's it don't matter, does it? That's an AI generated image, but
you know what?
I've had some real back and forth with that shit, man.
It has a place. Does AI?
Yeah.
But where today, and this is what puts me ahead of a lot of people, right? Coach wise as well, and it's so AI can help you get in front, but AI can also plateau you, because I know a lot of coaches that are using AI for meal plans, workout plans, basing the whole business. It's not genuine. Every time I come on and do a video for Facebook, like every conversation I have, it's from here. It comes off the top of here.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That's what people buy into.
Yeah.
That's what sells you. No matter, not a nice little pretty poem that ChatGPT creates for you, right? It literally, you will have doctors and stuff passing the med degrees, on ChatGPT at some point.
That's the thing, isn't it? I think with where it's going now, it's so important. If obviously, like you were saying earlier, everybody wants to work for themselves and work from the phone anywhere in the world. But it's all well and good finding something like that you can do that will allow you to achieve that, but at the end of the day you need to find something that can't be replicated by AI. Like your service, that's you can't do that through an AI. I mean, maybe you could have an automatic sort of response message that's AI generated to say someone will get in touch with you, I think that's fine. But the actual value comes in through the personal service. Yeah. So it's important for people who are wanting to get into working for themselves or something like that. If you're trying to do something new, do something that can't be, something that's protected from that, something that's outside of that realm where it can be taken over by artificial intelligence.
What you've got to think is everything that is out there, every great idea, right, can be replicated by somebody else or by AI. Yeah. Right? Yeah. You're on a journey at the minute. Yeah. I know other people that are on the same journey as you. Yeah. Right? You know what I do for business.
You're not the only.
I'm not the only
recovery program out there.
But guess what? Each one of them things don't have me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, there's only one.
There's only me.
Yeah.
Right? People resonate with what I say, how I say it, you know, how I work with people.
And also your story.
Exactly.
You can't manufacture a story like that. You have to go there, live through it. Yeah.
I don't give a shit what next man's doing. I just focus on myself, because, like, literally, if you focus your attention on what other people are doing, that's taking time away from you getting your bread and butter. You know what I mean? Like, you why focus? Oh, so and so set up a bit, so right hand.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah.
Am I meant to like retreat? Am I meant to stop, mate? Like, literally, for me, like I said, I don't watch other people's stuff, and I don't care what other people are doing, because I know stuff like that is going to fuel me even more. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And this is this is it. It's like we're haters. Not everybody that looks at my content is a genuine supporter, right? But the way that I look at the hate is whether I am directly actively coaching you and inspiring you, or whether you're looking at my stuff and you try to compete with me. Either way, I've just inspired you. So I've done my job. I live in your head rent free. Yeah. You are learning from me. Yeah. You might not be listening to my advice, and you might be trying to compete with me. But that's... Yeah. I am still the foundation of what's making you get your ass into gear. Right?
Have you ever... So obviously your stuff online, specifically Facebook's probably your biggest platform, right? Yeah. How many views did you say you had? You can't, like, as a rough total.
Around 18.5 million views.
On Facebook?
On Facebook.
Yeah. In, what would you say, like 16, 17 months sort of since you started?
17 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is a fucking lot of eyeballs on you. So not all of that is going to be positive, like you've just said. Do you pay attention to the negative stuff? Ever? Does it creep through?
Sometimes, yeah. It can. Yeah. Of course it can. You know, when somebody puts something on there, some people will put some stuff on there, and like there was one comment a few weeks ago, and I'd not seen it pop up. It wasn't until I just accidentally ended up back on that video, and a comment caught my eye, and it was a nice comment, but then the comment underneath it, somebody put something like, there's a lot of people on social media who do this kind of content who are valuable in the world of recovery. You are not one of them. And that really fucked me off. It really fucked me off. It shut me down for like a full day. Right. And then I was like, hang on a minute. I was like, no, that's bullshit. That is bullshit. People will literally see a video of mine and not agree with what I say on the video. It might be multiple reasons. It's either it's a nerve, they're in denial about something, or they might be a hot step or 12-step program type person and they believe that that's the only way. You know, there could be different factors as to why they don't think I'm valuable in this world, in the world of recovery. Yeah. But when I look at the facts, when I look at the following, when I look at the views, when I look at the shares, the reactions,
testimonials,
the love versus the hate, the amount of people that I have actually helped not die, right? That one comment means nothing.
No, it's a drop in the ocean.
Yeah, but sometimes it can, and I'm telling you now,
the loud minorities can can get through and
it can,
knock
but
you off course.
Again, I kind of welcome it, because what you got to think of is, you know, it's time consuming to sit there and argue with every troll.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, but what they don't realise is that every time they comment something, they're boosting you up that algorithm.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
you have every time they share it and send it to the mates to take the piss, it's playing into your hands.
1,000,000%.
Mate, if you tried to do anything in this world and keep everybody happy, you would go fucking nowhere.
Of course you would.
You would be on that treadmill that we were talking about earlier. Like, what? I can't think of a single thing that you could do that nobody would have a problem with.
Yeah, I know.
Like,
but you don't.
But it's the fear that stops people from doing it and pursuing it.
Yeah.
The fear of what other people will think. But you know, if you do things you don't want to do to impress people you don't like, then you're the one who's losing at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I think you've got to be. I use everything to my advantage, right? So I did a video the other week, which gained a bit of a negative response. Right?
What was the video?
It was partners of addicts. Right?
Okay.
So I'm saying to partners of addicts, if you've got a partner, who's balls deep in addiction, and you're begging them to sort their life out, stop inviting them down to Witherspoons on a Sunday for a pint and think they're going to be okay because it's just you two, right?
Yeah, and I can drink.
Yeah, I can control him.
Yeah.
No, you can't, right?
Yeah.
If you love that person, you want them to get better, you are going to have to change your way of life also for a period of time until the addict in question is at a stage where they can say, you know, yeah, you can go out, love. Go out every weekend. I'm cool. I've got my base of, you know, models, and I know where I stand, and I'm good. But in the beginning, you have to. It's a lot of give and take. Now I got heat from that.
Yeah.
Particularly from women. I'm not going to change what I fucking do for someone if that's their problem. First of all, I think, well, you must be a ball ache to be in a relationship with, right? The next day, I flipped the narrative completely, right? Both videos did 500,000 views, right? Yeah. Second video next day, it was mums in addiction.
Okay.
Right? 500,000 views. Women in the comments, oh my God, what a lovely man.
Positive.
Oh my God, you've just hit nail on head.
Yeah.
Flipped it, bang. If I did that one video and got a response from women like that, I could be sat here now saying, every woman hates me. Right? But I flipped it. Bang.
Yeah.
Right? So I told them some home truths, but at the same time I was like, you know.
I get it.
And that's it. And that's how literally you hit on social media for growth. You need to be a bit controversial. You need to be.
Well, at the end, mate, people only see the snippets.
Yeah, they do.
That's why I mean, obviously podcasts, a lot of the growth around podcasts is oriented around snippets, but the snippets drive the traffic to the full episode, and it is through a full episode that you get a full picture of somebody.
1,000,000%.
And that's why I love this art form. Like, I do believe it is an art form, you know, like this form of media, because it allows you to build a more full picture of somebody and their message rather than just a snippet online.
Yeah.
1,000,000%.
And you know what? Like when people that do similar stuff to me, people that work in the industry, shall we call it, of mental health, addiction, helping people, whether that's a personal trainer, whether you know, if you are profiting from that, there's a stigma that you should feel shamed. You should feel ashamed if you are making money off helping people, right?
Yeah, because realistically, you'd be out of business if everybody was okay.
Yeah, but at the end of the day,
like if nobody had addiction problems, and
yeah, but I don't want people to be in addiction.
No,
right? Like my mission will be accomplished if there were no drug addicts in the world.
Yeah.
I'd just have to find something else.
Yeah,
whatever.
Yeah,
but I won't complain about it because everybody's
mission.
clean.
Yeah.
But people need to stop shaming people that do this sort of stuff as a business, because at the end of the day, you got to think, you're moaning about the NHS and the government that they can't provide adequate help and support for mental health, you know, for addiction and all that kind of stuff. So people like myself have got to step up to the plate and do something about it. Now, if we're good at it, right, like Dambo, class coach, right, big advocate for men's mental health.
Absolutely. Yeah, he's quite.
That man needs to be paid to keep doing what he's doing. If that man
to keep fighting the good cause.
Yeah, if that man, right, had to go work a 9-to-5 job, right, and had to do helping people as a side hustle, he wouldn't be able to help as many people.
No.
That's exactly the same as me. I know I'm good at what I do.
That's the crux of it, isn't it?
In order to help more, I need to be paid, right? I don't get greedy with it.
No.
But it's enough to enable me to keep doing this line of work.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right? But with it, you need to take the morals out of it, take what people's opinions out of it, right? If you're doing something like this, you know, do it right. And I've learned a lot about business. I've learned, I have never had to do, like, I've never had to get a coach for social media because I understood what hits home to people. I understand what topics hit home, right? I understand now how to do a video, have that video do 500,000 views, which will then lead to
more traffic, new footfall,
more
to your
traffic,
page.
More inboxes, more over the phone consultations, more clients, more income.
Yeah.
Whilst earning money on the video on multiple platforms, you know, and then earning physical money, right?
Have you ever had anybody say to you that your content glorifies addiction?
Only little dickheads that go, oh no, I want to get on it.
Yeah.
But no. I know people that do similar stuff content-wise to me that, you know, that kind of do glorify it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? They have glorified it, and they're in recovery themselves.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people saddling off this recovery world for personal gain and not actually offering anything else back.
Well, it's sort of like what we were talking about before we started. You know, me saying to you, I don't want this episode to be like farming for clips and talking about all the shit, you know, how much coke you were doing on a daily basis.
We all know,
and this sort of
we
thing.
all know how bad I was.
Well, mate, that's it. Like, that's already out there. So, yeah. What, so like you mentioned earlier, obviously you lost your dad when you were 4 years old. Is that right? What was that like growing up without a dad? And did you have other father figures in your life?
Yeah, I mean, I've got technically a stepdad, Mark. He'd been with me since I was 2.
Yeah.
Obviously, my mum and dad had broke up before my dad had died.
Okay, yeah.
But it's that stepdad-son relationship were kind of volatile,
weird
for a while.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But now we're like best mates.
Yeah.
Like, we train together.
Nice.
You know, he's seen me grow into a man. He's seen me. He recognises my struggles. Yeah. You know, and yeah, that's it. But part of that is because I was a little bastard. You know, when I was younger, I just was. That was just how I was. So now I'm a dad. I understand his point of view.
Do you think that was like the reason why you were a little bastard when you were younger? Maybe because you didn't have a dad.
I couldn't understand a lot of things. So from a young age, I've always been trying to work things out.
Okay, yeah.
I always try to understand things.
Yeah.
You know, even and that went onto every stage of my life, trying to just understand, chase. And like I said a bit ago, now I feel I'm at that point in my life where I understand all that now. You know what I mean? And I'm not chasing anything. I am where I need to be. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, of course, with my dad, my biological dad, Rick, I knew a lot about him, like things I've been told, and my life did mirror his. You know, because he had problems with addiction, and you know, we were very much the same person.
Right.
But when it got to a stage where my life hit the point where he died in his life, it was like, so the road traffic accident, I had a road traffic accident. That were end of that. Bless you. That were the end of the parallel lives, if that makes sense. And I looked at that as, now it's time to start living as me.
Yeah.
Because I felt like before I was just living his life to try and understand him. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And now I feel like I am
Even though you probably weren't consciously doing that,
yeah,
it sort of just manifested itself into the way things went. Do you believe in determination? Is it determinism?
Manifestation.
No, like some people believe, like, there's that cliche saying of everything happens for a reason, but some people live by that. Like, they think that you're born in life and everything is laid out for you before you don't, before you even have a choice in it. Sort of a nature versus nurture kind of debate.
To a certain extent, I believe that is a tricky one. I mean, I would always say, yeah, I believe the phrase everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
Right? And it's down to you to find the again, depending how you react to what happens. Right? There could be two reasons in your perspective. If you go left and dwell on shit, it happened for this really bad reason. If you go right,
use the pain to
as power, use it as power,
yeah,
it happened for a good reason.
Yeah.
Right? In terms of things being mapped out,
yeah,
like Steve Jobs said, you can't connect the dots looking forward, you can only connect them looking backwards. Right? You can pinpoint how you got to this point now,
yeah,
by looking backwards.
Yeah, but you only get there after being there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I like every bad thing or good thing. You know what? I've had more success from bad things happening to me rather than good things.
Yeah.
And that's weird.
That's sort of what I was getting at there. Like, without all that, you wouldn't be here. But you sort of didn't. Yeah, you had a choice in doing the things that you did. But like you say, you losing your dad, that wasn't in your control. Like, and that set you on a certain path.
Yeah.
You come to crossroads in your life, don't you? And you have to decide what's, what is best. And it's difficult sometimes to actually realise what is the best thing for you to do. I mean, but you only know, like you say, in hindsight.
Yeah, I always say to my clients, there's a difference between doing the right thing and the best thing. Right? So the right thing is the best way I could put this. So, the right thing to do is, let's say you've got a family member, right? Or let's say you're in a relationship, right? And your partner's cheated on you, right? You've got kids. Kids want stable mum and dad, blah, 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 blah. The right thing to do is stay together for the kids' sake. The best thing to do is separate, so that the kids aren't living in volatile
conditions. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
There's a difference, right? But in order to do the thing that's best for you, you have to go through a bit of hardship.
Yeah. Like,
literally, there is no... if anybody's got a goal or something like that and they expect it to be plain sailing, you've seen them diagrams where it shows you, the goal and then it's like a big squiggle.
Yeah.
Honest to God, that is the fucking truth. Do you know what I mean? That is the truth. Like, every time something really bad happens to you or it gets challenging, that is when you should be like, right, here we go. Shit's going to start happening. Because that's when it starts getting better. Yeah. Honest to God, hand on heart.
Mate, I went through something very recently where I had to do exactly that. The right thing and the best thing were two very kind of contrasting directions to go in.
Yeah.
And I believe I made the right decision in doing what I did. But it wasn't easy, and it weighed on me for a good few weeks. But like you say, that's where you grow. It's through that discomfort that you grow, isn't it?
You do.
Yeah.
And it's like with people as well. Not every person that's in your life is meant to be in your life forever. Like, if you're reading a book, there's different characters in each chapter.
In and out, yeah.
Yeah, and they're only there because they serve a certain purpose in that chapter.
Yeah.
And then that's it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's we can be held back by trying to sort of keep a character coming into the next chapter with us, and there's no place for them in that chapter. You know, it don't mean they're a bad person. It just means that's it. Do you know what I mean? And it does sometimes mean making a tough decision and cutting a cord.
Yeah.
You have to do that.
How has your perception of addiction changed over time? Because there's people, obviously, some people will say there are such things as healthy addictions, but where does that line cross, where something can go from a healthy addiction to an unhealthy addiction?
So,
because it's probably fair to say you're addicted to fitness right now.
Yeah.
But that's a healthy
I
thing for you.
I think I'm addicted to. Well, you got to look at it this way. When I was addicted to drugs, I'd have drugs on me all the time, and I'd be doing it everywhere. Right? I'm not doing burpees every 5 steps, am I? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say I'm addicted to it. Do you know what I mean? Because addicted's a heavy.
But that's what I mean. Where is that barrier? Because, like, for example, right, I went to the Cage Warriors event this weekend gone, and those events are full of a lot of people who like to get on the packet, and God knows what else. There were lads throwing up in the toilets, into the bin in the toilets, and you know, some people will look at going out every weekend and having a few beers. Is that an addiction? Is it healthy because it's in a social environment? Where are the blurred lines, in your opinion?
I think when you think of a drug addict, tell me what you think a drug addict is.
I think it's someone who's lost control.
What does losing control look like?
When it starts to have a detrimental effect on your daily functioning. But then again, there are people you'd consider as functioning addicts and whatnot. Right, this is my point to people. So you got to work Monday to Friday, work hard. 2 days a week, you're a write-off. Yep.
Because you shove poison in your body. Let's not forget alcohol is a poison, right? It is a drug. So is cocaine, so is ketamine.
Yep.
But because you've gone and worked and earned money for 5 days, and you've been a good boy, right? You got up at your time, you've abided by the law, you deserve to throw a lot of crap into your body on a weekend.
As if you've earned it.
Yeah. And that is every day, every weekend, for the rest of your life. Right? So let's calculate
52 weekends in a year,
2
days in a weekend, that's 104 days of the year. It's not far off a third of your life.
There you go.
At least your waking life, you know, and obviously you spend however many
so,
hours and days of the year actually sleeping, so of your waking time.
So 52, what's that, 52
weeks in a year.
52 weeks in a year, if we're using Saturday and Sunday.
Or Friday, Saturday.
Right, Friday, Saturday.
Yeah,
Friday, Saturday, so 2 days a week.
Yep.
Right? So if you come to me and said, Marcus, you know, let's just use example of a month, right? So that's what, 2, 4, 6, 8. That's 8 days a month, right? For weekend. If you come to me and says 8 days a month, I sniff and drink, but I ain't got a problem. It don't matter if them 8 days are in a row. That's 8 days a month, right?
And to an extent, it could be 3 days a week if you have the Friday, Saturday, and then the Sunday is a write-off.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
And
right?
at that point, it's add another 4 days. It's 12 days a month. It's nearly half.
So I did a video on it, and I worked it out that it's like if you did a gram each day of the weekend, that's 96 grams a year.
Yeah.
That is 96 grams of cocaine a year. And people say they ain't got a problem because it's only on a weekend. 96 grams a year tells me you've got a big fucking problem.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But people justify it because it's just on a weekend. Right? If you cannot hit Friday and not pick up, right, or not drink alcohol, you are in a routine-based addiction. Right? You are sucked into the routine. Look, I look at addiction, there's two things. Active drug addiction is a parasite. It needs you alive. It needs you healthy to continue feeding off you. So it will allow you to have Monday to Friday clean. And then Saturday, Sunday, bang. There we go.
Yeah.
And every year that goes
Cycle.
on, it breaks you down a little bit more until the parasite has got no use for you anymore. And then that goes, and then you take your own life, or the drug kills you. And then how the parasite then moves on to the next person is family members, you know, that have seen you.
Yeah.
They start picking up, they start using, bang, 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 bang. There we go. Right? On the other end, this is how I use, you know, so it can be a parasite, but now I look at it as an energy, addictive energy. Whatever I do, channel that inner addict, that inner addictive attitude, that mentality into everything, right? I am an addict with my work. I'm addicted to helping people. I'm addicted to, being consistent. In fact, no, I wouldn't say I'm addicted to those things. I'd say I'm addicted to consistency, and I'm addicted to discipline.
Are you addicted to the feeling that you get from doing those positive things?
Yes.
Yeah.
1,000,000%.
Yeah.
1,000,000%, because it gives me dopamine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Helping somebody.
I have spent my entire 20s being a fuck up, right? Kind of getting there, but not quite there, right? And I'm 30 now, and my 30s are going to be the best 10 years of my life. I've achieved more in 2 years than I have in past 15 years, just from being clean and sober now.
It's going to be interesting to see how things manifest over those next 10 years for you, I think.
It will.
Go on.
Do I think it's going to be plain sailing? No.
No.
Do I think there's going to be some setbacks? Yeah. Not recovery-wise.
Yeah.
But business-wise.
Like you say, everybody has dark days.
Yeah.
As you know, in the last couple of months, obviously, things can crop up. You can find stuff out that isn't what you want to hear. But it's, like you say, it's how you deal with that and then take it in your stride. Speaking of the next 10 years, where do you see Mean and Clean going in the next 10 years? Have you got any kind of key targets, goals, things that you want to do specifically for the brand, the business, for yourself?
I think for Mean and Clean, that's got to be, I'm working towards that being the biggest, because it's massive online.
Yep.
Now we need to put it into a physical place.
Okay,
right?
Yeah, you want a place of business, so to speak.
Yeah, so like not just an office, it's got to be, so obviously working towards, it's in the works right now, a wellness centre, but we're going to cater for veterans that have fallen into addiction, homeless veterans, and people that have suffered all sorts of different types of abuse, you know, use it as a safe haven, train them up, give them mental health support, fitness and nutritional guidance, help them get jobs, working, all that kind of stuff. So that's what Mean and Clean is going to be. And over the next 10 years, I want a Mean and Clean wellness centre, wellness hub type thing in every major UK city in the next 5 to 10 years. Some people might look at that and go, but to me, it is massively achievable.
Well, like you say, you've done that in 2 years. Think about what you can do in 5 times that. Compound effect as well.
Exactly.
Yeah. Where are you going to start in Wakefield, do you think? Or Castleford? Or
probably Wakefield, Leeds area.
Yeah.
But then obviously, it's important for me to, and this is talking as a businessman now, that, you know, I need to take the blueprint of what I've done with Mean and Clean, and I need to put that into another industry and just replicate. Right?
What sort of industry do you have in mind?
I don't know yet.
You don't know.
Could be anything.
You just think that.
But I do have a good idea, because whatever I'm good at doing, sell it.
Okay. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think
people buy you.
Yeah.
They don't buy your idea, they buy what you do, they buy into you as a person.
People buy from people.
Exactly. So that's it. I could literally go into, I don't know, I could go into selling fucking Hyrox trainers or whatever. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But because I'm wearing them.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That kind of thing. That's how endorsements work and all that kind of stuff. But no, obviously I want more businesses in pipeline, all that kind of stuff. But with Mean and Clean, that is, you know, that is the big one. Getting it in a physical location soon enough. Just and people that supported from get go, you know, like you boys, Wolf Supplements. Like if I'm going up, you boys are coming up. It's as simple as that. And that, like I say, mate, loyalty is everything.
Too right, man.
That is
Too
everything
right.
Because
yeah.
I know people that when a better deal comes along, bang, straight on it. Right? And it's like you're forgetting the people that
you came up with.
Buttered the bread for you. Do you know what I mean? Take them with you. You know? I think it's Conor McGregor that said the people that trained him, that took him in and trained him when he was nothing, it's still the same team to this day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And that you get more, like, why, if they get you to a certain point, why change that? Why change
if
that?
It's working.
Yeah, if it's working, why change that?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I just want to see everybody do the best they can. You know what I mean? I just want to bring everybody up, you know? Even if there's, like, I tell my clients, I say, listen, your recovery, I take people's recoveries as serious as I do my own. Because I want results. Every coach wants results. But the reason why I want them to do well is because there's this sort of underlying rule in sobriety, whether that be recovery 12 steps, whatever it is, that it's then going to be our duty to pass it on to the next person or help the next guy or woman. So if I can help you, for example, then one day you're going to help someone else. That's a direct...
It's the domino effect.
It is.
Yeah, like we were talking about earlier.
You know what I mean? It's a recurring, residual, duplicating process. So just by helping one person, each person, so over 1,000 people, Mean and Clean's help now.
Yeah, the compound effect of that.
They're all going to help one person.
But that's just individual people. You're not even thinking, like, the families who you've helped as a result of helping one person. Like, you can't even take that into account, really.
Exactly.
Obviously, you've had quite the journey along the way. What would you say has been your biggest learning curve?
See, I knew you were going to ask me that.
It's almost like I ask it at the end of every episode.
but I knew you were going to ask me, and I was thinking about that for days.
Yeah.
And I never, even when I looked at it yesterday at farm, I thought he was going to ask me that question. How do I narrow it down?
Yeah, because you've had a lot. There's been a lot to learn.
The biggest learning curve. Fuck everyone else. Just believe in yourself. That is it. The biggest learning curve for me is whatever dream you have, right? No matter how unrealistic it seems to other people, it's in your mind for a reason. And what you've endured, what you've gone through, is your university. Right? That is it. So don't listen to outside noise. Just move forward. Like, literally use pain as power. That would be, to epitomise it, pain as power. Use pain as power. Always. Eat the pressure for breakfast. Like, so what? You know, like, shit happens. It does. If I got my arm caught, if you got your arm caught between a fucking boulder and a
rock
mountain,
and a hard place.
Yeah. If you would you stay there and let yourself die, or would you cut your arm off so you could keep living? You'd have to cut your arm off. So sometimes you've got to cut your piece of yourself off in order to grow. You know? You might never get that back, but you're going to grow. Right? So, for me, it's just a case of whenever something challenging comes towards me, run at it. That's it.
I think that's a fucking good place to end it, mate.
Thank you for having me on.
Mate, it's been a pleasure. Mean and clean. Everywhere.